I will take a motion to vote on the MOU as we discussed in executive session.
I would move approval of the MOU as discussed. Wendy Littlefield.
I would second that. Jeff Wood.
All in favor? Any opposed? Unanimous. Now we have a public hearing. Northeast Lobster Company, LLC, doing business as the Nor'easter, 10 Huntington Road, Northeast Harbor, request for special amusement permit.
I would move approval. Oh, we don't do that yet. Sorry. Public hearing. Never mind.
When everyone gets bored, somebody can make a motion to come out of.
Yes.
I just have one quick question. Adam, I think you're here. Yep. According to this map, this does include the deck, correct?
Hey, yes, I'm here. We haven't traditionally had music on the deck, but it's been part of the application in the past, and we'd like the ability to have, something small and acoustic going on out there. So yes,
Okay.
It does include the deck.
Perfect. That's all
Okay.
So I second going out of the public forum. Public hearing.
Okay.
I guess I'll move that we go out of here.
Oh, sorry. I thought you already did.
No. Sorry. I move that we leave the public hearing. Wendy seconded.
Okay, all in favor? All right, I will accept a motion to approve the minutes of February 2nd, 2026.
Do we have to approve the permit first or no?
No.
Nope, that comes up
Okay.
later. Yeah.
Okay. Move approval of the minutes. Wendy?
Second, Jeff.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Unanimous. Thank you. Appointments, recognitions, and resignations. Accept retirement of Kevin Edgecombe from the Mount Desert Police Department effective March 8, 2026.
Move acceptance with great thanks to Kevin for his service to the town and the community.
Second. Oh, go ahead.
And a great thanks to Kevin. He's been a big part of the community for years. Anyway, all in favor? Okay. Consent agenda. Notice of the Mount Desert Fire Department discontinuing confined space rescue services.
I move approval of the consent agenda as presented. This is Jeff Wood.
Second by Wendy.
Okay, any discussion? Anything?
I didn't understand what that was. What are they discontinuing?
Is Mike out there somewhere?
Doesn't look like it.
No, I don't think he is.
Is it a service that they had and they're not doing anymore? Is that was my understanding?
Yeah, essentially that's what's going on is actually I think Brian might be one person who could help us out with that a little bit. It involved some of the guys who from Public Works who no longer needed that service from the fire department and were outsourcing it, so there really wasn't a reason to keep it going anymore.
Okay, yeah, because that's
the gist that I got from reading through that with Mike.
That's one of the most dangerous things there, the confined space.
Well, exactly.
It takes a lot of training and it takes a lot to keep up the equipment. It's expensive. It's best for us to just put it in hands of people that do it on a regular basis versus our limited time that we do it. We don't do it enough to keep up all of the stuff.
How far away are the guys that they're using? Are they pretty readily? I mean, like
there's a company that's been doing a little bit of work for us lately that's coming out of Portland. And what we do is just try and pile on a bunch of things to do all at once. So we get them up here for one per diem and overnight and get a bunch of things done. So we kind of schedule it as much as we can to give them a full day and not try.
But a rescue, that'd be a long way to come from.
Well, I don't, there's got to be other, as far as rescues go, that would be in Mike's realm.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what other entities are potentially, licensed or certified for doing that kind of stuff. I was actually just referring to the public works side. So
Yeah.
just where we're getting work done in an enclosed space,
Yeah.
confined space.
So if you're, I understand now, if you're doing work, you got to have somebody who's going to test the tank, make sure it's not going to have an explosion, or you got plenty of.
Gas detectors, a tripod,
Yeah.
lowering.
Okay, good. You need
all
basically a
that.
chemist. Yeah. Okay. Okay, good. All right. Thank you.
Okay. All right. All in favor? Consent agenda as read. All right. Any select board reports?
I have this, Jeff Wood. I just want to, been a lot of discussion recently, and I know there will continue to be about the school consolidation plan, and recently the school consolidation presentation, which I did not attend, but I've spoken to a few people that have. And I just really want to make sure that we as a town do the best we can to be sure that the information is, and I swore I would never use the word granularity, but I really would love to see a greater effort on our part to provide our voters with granular details on what this means to us. What is the goal? And we hear about that there's no intent to touch the nature of our local schools, but that's a very vague sort of emotional appeal. And I think it's incumbent upon us to make sure that our voters have right down to the letter details about what this is going to mean, what it's going to cost each of us, and what this means for the future of governance of the school systems. And so I needed to make that report because I've had several people to reach out to me, partly because they know that I know about things and I'm part of the school system, but it's just, it's an important thing for me to mention.
Yeah. Thank you. That's, Alex, you and Gail, and I think Jeff and I were going to meet and talk about some of those talking points.
Yeah, and along those lines, we've already booked the neighborhood house on May 18th. That'll be the point at which this formally gets pushed along for the vote. And so we've got neighborhood house set up for that exact reason, assuming a larger crowd and to try to get people involved for that one. So that's sort of the plan of attack at the moment as the date that we'll really talk through this, and that'll be about 3 weeks before the actual vote.
Okay. Good. Anything else? Nope. Any unfinished business? Nope. New business. The Nor'easter Pound and Market, 10 Huntington Road, Northeast Harbor, request for liquor license renewal and special amusement permit renewal.
Jeff Wood, I move approval.
Wendy, I second.
All in favor? Thank you. Review and approve of the purchase of a 2025 Navistar HV607 cab and chassis utilizing Public Works Equipment Reserve Account 4050100-24500 with an approximate unencumbered balance of $413,485.38.
I'll move approval.
I'll second.
Okay, discussion.
Yeah, I got a couple of questions. I read that. I mean, the only number in the motion is 413, but the expense itself is like 107. My question is about it. It was the same age as and condition as the one we had, but is it used or has it just been sitting there? It's new. It's just not calendar new.
It's not calendar new. It was ordered by someone who then chose not to collect it and isn't going to use it, and it exactly meets our specs. They actually borrowed our specs when they ordered it.
Perfect. I mean, it really made a lot of sense to me, but I wasn't sure if it was, brought back.
No, Nope,
Okay.
never actually got to the people that ordered it. So it's been sitting on the lot. It gives us a little bit of a savings.
Yeah, and it's a year ahead, but that's for the savings. You gotta. Okay, that answers
Yeah.
my question. I just wanted to make sure it wasn't sitting there and rotting for not rotting. That's too strong a word. You know what I mean?
Sitting idle. Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay.
Brian, is this a bobtail truck that you're going to put like a dump body or something on, or is it already?
We're going to come back with the way that we're going to outfit it. So we'll go out to bid for getting it outfitted. So with this one, we intend to put a little more of a configurable body on it. But yeah, we'll come back to you with bids for the body.
So right now it's just the bobtail, just the frame and the cab.
Just the frame, just cab and chassis. Yep.
I got you. Yeah.
Good. All right. Thank you. Anybody else? All in favor? Good. Unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay. Review and approve the purchase of a new Gas Boy Atlas X fuel management system utilizing the Public Works Road Reserve account 4050100-24573 with an approximate unencumbered balance of $359,942.75.
Jeff Wood, I'll move approval.
Wendy, I'll second.
Good.
A quick question, just again. I mean, usually it seems like in the past anyway, the price of the thing is in the motion rather than just the unencumbered balance. So, because when I looked at this, I'm like, "Whoa, you want to make two $400,000 purchases?" So
Okay. Yeah.
it's a lot less expensive than I agree with your logic on why to go with GAFTEC. My question is more about, I mean, is there going to require a significant amount of training for people who happen to fill school buses a lot?
Well, nobody's going to have to keep track of a key anymore.
That's great.
It'd be a key code. And so you'll
Okay.
have a code and
All right.
you just use that code and then it'll get charged appropriately from there.
But everything else how long is this thing going to take to install? Is it going to be out of commission for a bit?
I don't think it'll take all that long, and I'm hopeful that they can just do it with a swap in a day, like get prepared for and then transfer it over. So hopefully it won't be out of commission very much at all.
Okay.
I don't know exactly what their schedule is yet, but
Perfect.
What is this for diesel fuel, just for all the equipment, buses and just for everything?
yeah, and then the cost of that fuel, it's tracked the amount that is put into particular vehicles. It's a key system right now, so you have an individual key that's for an account. This will be a key code instead, so it'll be specific to an account, and then the town bills out for that fuel to either the departments in the town that are using it or to other entities, like the high school fuels their buses there. Some of the other island schools fuel their buses. So we're sort of a centralized location for getting fuel.
So will you be able to know which vehicle actually got the fuel, or just what town got the fuel?
We can set up as many codes as we want and track it as much detail as we want. So yeah, if you wanted to put a code for the loader specifically and a code for the backhoe specifically or particular trucks, we can do as many codes as we want.
I guess, yeah.
And have more tracking if we want.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay, all in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Okay, review and approve a contract with Whitcomb Contracting in the amount of $444,445 for rehabilitation of the Gray Cow parking lot and the completion of the remaining warranty work for the Northeast Harbor Main Street project.
Main Street project that never ends.
Geez, I know. Okay, I'll move it.
Yeah, I'll second it. Jeff Wood.
Okay, anybody have anything they want to chime in on?
Alex, is this what you and I talked about earlier?
Nope, this is a different one.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I would.
This isn't the same contractor, is it?
No.
I'm not familiar with this one.
So it's just a parking lot next to Mount Desert 365 and the Seacoast Mission. That building's the Gray Cow parking lot. It's up above the town office and out through Firehouse Lane and some parking over right around the museum as well. And so it's been a long time since it's been rehabbed. It's due. This is a basic contract with a little bit of a bid alternate that goes with it. So the primary contract is for rehabbing that parking lot, and then the bid alternate was to cover the work that needs to be done under the warranty for the Main Street work. So we're holding retainage on that project from the contractor that did that work. That retainage is going to pay for the warranty work. And then the parking lot itself is being paid for out of a bond issuance that we did last year. It was approved in
the parking
25.
lot, what's the parking lot, Brian? Just re-blacktop it, or does it need work?
We're gonna probably remove a bunch. It's kind of a patchwork of asphalt, different ages, vintages, whatever. We're probably going to grind some down, strip some. It'll be sort of in the field decisions as to how we're going to handle each. There's probably some ledge that we're going to have to contend with, trying to get ourselves a good base. Trying to get a good base so that we can put back a good quality surface, and then restripe. And
did this come out of the same bond that the municipal lot came out of?
A different one.
Okay. All right. All in favor? Okay. I can't see Jeff. I can't see.
Oh, I'm up. We are all unanimous. I see everybody.
Okay. Unanimous. Good.
Thank you.
Authorize the sale of surplus Holmatro extrication equipment on behalf of the fire department.
Move approval, authorization rather.
Second.
I'm assuming this is related to the discontinuation of the small space rescue trainings. But
actually, no. This is for automobile extrication.
oh, okay.
Yeah.
What did they get? New equipment?
I don't know. I don't know where they are with that, but
I seem to think we did.
Yeah.
Recently, I seem to remember switching to a battery powered or something. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, these are all pretty old.
Yeah.
They'll move approval.
Yeah.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Unanimous. Okay, authorize the fire chief to determine the acceptance or rejection of offers and disposal of surplus Holmatro extrication equipment that does not sell on behalf of the town.
Well, I guess we move it. I'd move the authorization and then we can have a discussion.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
Okay, discussion.
Do we know how much this piece of equipment is supposed to be worth?
The sum total of all of it was $11,000.
Okay.
And it was a bunch of little pieces. So I think what he's basically looking for here as just authorization to,
Get rid of it.
get rid of it. Yes.
Yeah, that's fine. It's just not a $75,000 piece of equipment we're authorizing. Sell at his discretion. Oh, that's fine.
Yeah, he does have a spreadsheet with it all listed out.
Is that just like throw it away if he can't sell it? Is that what he means?
No, he'll probably reach out to another municipality or something that might have a use for it. That's typically how this goes.
I get you.
Yeah. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Unanimous. Consider request to release an amount not to exceed $21,100 from account 4040300-24471 Fire Equipment Engine Reserve, and authorize the fire chief to use such funds for the purchase and installation of hose, tools, and equipment on the 2025 Ferrara fire truck.
Move approval.
Second, Jeff Wood.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Good. All in favor. Unanimous. All right, now 2026 interim revaluation adjustments assessing presentation from Kyle.
Thank you. This is an informational presentation. We're not making any decisions. I just wanted to let you all know my plan for this coming tax year. And hopefully through presenting to you, it'll get out more to the public in general, because this is pretty important. It's going to affect a lot of people. So I just want to apologize if I lose you in the discussion, because this is technical information and I look at this kind of stuff all day. So please, if you get lost, ask questions. So to start off, I presented the memo. The memo has a lot of it in it, and I just wanted to go over some of the definitions that I'll be using so that people are all on the same page. To start off, by Maine state law, we need to keep assessment ratios above 70% and below 110% of market value. If we do that, we're in the good graces of the state, and then we get state subsidy and we get revenue sharing and those sorts of things. So a ratio study. So a sales ratio is just the assessed value of a property divided by the sale price of that property, and you get a ratio, right? That'll be important in a few minutes. Equalization is the process that I use to correct for inequity between ratios of property types. Equalization is a process where you adjust at varying rates to equalize. If you see in a ratio study property types of different ratios that are widely varying, I'm required by law to adjust one of those property classes to equalize, between the two property classes. Factoring is a term that I'll use. Factoring is a general approach that some assessors use. It's when you use a single adjustment factor across all properties. Something we did last year. I did a 20% upward adjustment of all properties. That's called a factoring approach. Then there's another approach called interim valuation adjustments. And with this technique, you use a more in-depth study and you determine a finer resolution of ratios between property classes. And if you do see a wide disparity between property classes, you use a different factor depending on which property class. So that's somewhat different from the factoring, same factor for everybody townwide. With the interim valuation adjustment, it's more a different factor for vacant land, a different factor for waterfront, those sorts of things. And then on the other end of the spectrum is a full measure and list revaluation. That's the process where we send people out to every house to try to measure every edge of every building, to recapture what's on the ground on every property. A full measure and list, you basically retool all your pricing tables so that your building cost schedules get updated. You do a more in-depth neighborhood, what we call assessing neighborhoods. So when you have similar type properties in the general area, it's called an assessing neighborhood, and they should be valued fairly similarly. And so when you do a full measure and list, that's really the time to look at your sales, to look at, the local knowledge, which I've accumulated here, having worked here for quite a while. And then you redraw those assessing neighborhoods. But that's typically handled during a full measure and list revaluation, which will be coming soon. The last time we did one of those was back in 2007. So I've used the interim valuation adjustments since that full measure and list back in 2007. So we've had a handful of adjustments over the years, trying to keep the ratios, within that state law requirement. And they're more a Band-Aid approach. It helps us keep our ratios in compliance, but then the underlying data starts to get stale after as long as we've been. So that will be coming, not this year, but it will be coming probably in the next year or two. So we use statistics, a statistical analysis to determine ratios. And in a statistical analysis, you have your pool of sales and you array them by ratio, and then you throw the outlier, right? So the top 15% and the bottom 15%, you kind of ignore those to say they're outliers, and you do your real analysis in the middle 70%. That's the method that the state guidelines give us to use that 70% in the middle ratios. So the ratio study is just an invaluable tool for assessors, because that really helps us gauge how are the assessments holding up against the market. In a typical year, we see about 30 to 40 sales. That's not a lot for a robust statistical analysis. So in the data that I provided you in the memo, I used 2 full years. So we're looking at sales that occurred all through 2024 and all through 2025. And using that 2-year window, we had about, I think it was 48 sales. So again, not a ton, but that's what we got to work with. So I'm going to share my screen and go to the memo so that we can start looking over the data. Give me a second here. Okay, so this opening text is to basically goes over what I just talked about, ratio study, why we need to do it. We're required by law to adjust values when they fall way below market. So I've given you data arranged in 3 perspectives, right? I got the full 2 years of data, and
Hey,
I
Kyle?
array them in 3 types. Yep, go ahead.
I think you've got the agenda up rather than your
Oh,
presentation.
okay, sorry.
Okay.
Thank you. Sure. Thanks for that. I didn't realize. Okay, where's my memo? Here it is. That better?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I've got all this data. 2 years of sales. 78 sales. I'm sorry, I misspoke. 78 sales. So in the 3 different ways I look at it, first approach was put all the sales together and then break out vacant land sales, break out waterfront sales, break out interior developed properties. So that's what the table to the left is showing, right? So there's the overall ratio amongst all the sales in this period was 79%. That tells me the assessments, the assessed values in general are 79% of the sale price. We're not out of compliance, but that's pretty low. We want to be in the 90% range, 90 to 100%. And then I classify the properties below that. So in the land sales, just looking at vacant land sales ratio, there's 9 sales. They were about 94%. That looks pretty good. But go to interior dwellings, and then it suddenly you got 53 sales. So that's pretty robust number of sales. They're at 78%. Again, that's pretty low. We want to be in the 90% range. And then waterfront is 81%. 12 sales, not a ton, but it's an indication. And then commercial sales, we don't have a ton of commercial property in town, so we don't see a lot of those sales. The ones we have seen indicate about a median 80% of those sale prices. But this is broad. This is a very broad perspective. You're applying these ratios across the whole town. And I think we need more resolution in the analysis to try to hone in on which villages are really out of whack or that don't have ratios comparable. So then I decided to group the villages, breaking out western villages, the west side of the town. So that's Solmesville, Pretty Marsh, Hull Quarry, Beach Hill. And I did a western villages versus eastern villages analysis. And that's where you start to see some discrepancy. So I did want to take a quick aside. When you look at the graphs, obviously there's more bars on these graphs than there are in the table. Some of these, what I'm showing are the sales within how they're coded in the database. So like an office building and a campground, those are both considered commercial. So on the left-hand side, you see the commercial sales. Two of them, they're at 100%. But then you get into multiple houses. So multiple houses and single family, those are kind of congregated into the dwellings category in the table. And so you can see the median ratios for each of these classes once you start breaking out the western villages versus the eastern villages. Overall, 83%, a little improvement from the overall analysis, but still 83% is kind of low from where we want to be in the 90 to 100% range. But interestingly, vacant land and commercial are within that range on the western villages. But then we move into the eastern villages of Northeast Harbor, Seal Harbor, Otter Creek, and I'm sort of reviving the old village of Sound. That's the area at the head of the Sound where the Mount Desert Historical Society is. There's sort of a no man's land between Solmesville and Northeast Harbor. So I'm including them in the east side villages, more characteristic, like similar to Otter Creek. But in those villages, you can see the overall median ratio is 74%. So in between west side and east side, you're starting to see a real disparity in those ratios. And in the east side, vacant land, there's only one sale of vacant land right in the study. So that's not a terribly reliable number, but it does give us an indication. Interior dwellings, 73%. And that's a pretty good number with 22 sales. That's fairly reliable statistically. And then waterfront is 84% and commercial 58%. So once you start looking at it this way, stuff starts to jump out. We really need to make adjustments to certain classes of property and not making adjustments to all properties, and definitely not at the same rate. Just to be complete, I did a third perspective analysis, just looking at individual villages to see if there was any trends that popped out. The problem with doing single villages is you don't have a lot of sales within a single village, right? And so in Pretty Marsh, we had 9 sales, the overall ratio 85%. That's not terrible, but it's still low. Land is okay, but the dwellings and the waterfront definitely need attention. So that's in Pretty Marsh. Solmesville, similarly, the overall is okay, but then you start to see interior dwellings and waterfront are quite lower than vacant land and commercial properties in the sales in Solmesville. But again, you got to look at the number of sales in these calculations. So one commercial sale isn't very reliable to say, well, Solmesville commercial is valued at market, maybe, but we need more data. And so with these single village analysis, I just wasn't comfortable making decisions with these few numbers of sales. And so the bottom line ended up being that I think we should use the east versus west ratio studies. And if we do that, the trends suggest that the western villages, Solmesville, Pretty Marsh, Beach Hill, and Hull Quarry, will get a 10% upward adjustment. but that's going to exclude vacant land and commercial properties, right? Because in the western villages, those ratios are pretty good. You got 95%, you get 100%. So western will get 10%. So that'll be all interior residential, all oceanfront, all waterfront. They'll get 10% upwards. And then on the east side, Northeast Harbor, Seal Harbor, Sound, and Otter Creek, interior residential and commercial will get a 20% upward adjustment. Vacant land will get 10%, and oceanfront will get 5%. And that's looking at these ratios in the aggregate sales ratio. Doesn't get everybody exactly the same ratio, and I never would expect to get to the exact same ratio with an interim adjustment. We're using broad strokes to try to get everybody within a statistical range, so the 90 to 100% range as best we can. If we do that, the final table shows the ratio studies before and after if we implement that. So the western villages overall ratio will go up to 94%. Waterfront is a little low, but I think that's an acceptable variation. Eastern villages, again, will be north of 90%, 91%. That's a hard one. The commercial on the east side, with only 2 sales, I'm not really willing to stretch that further than what everybody else gets on the eastern villages. And then you see the corresponding ratios in each of the individual villages. But this is complex. It's a very hard puzzle to put together. And I'm using some pretty robust tools. I have software to help me do the analyses. And I will be implementing these adjustments for the coming tax year. I put in some language in my memo about the process. So I'll make the changes in my assessing database. I will send out notifications to everybody, hopefully by May, so that people will have a heads up if it's going to go up or not, and give them the opportunity to come present to me information. If they think my numbers are off, we can review it, look at it, and hopefully finalize all the valuations for the tax bills to go out as usual in early July. That is another opportunity. Once the tax bills go out, people can still contest the value. It's a little more formal process after the tax bills go out, but taxpayers have 185 days after the bills go out to contest the value. So you have till the end of the year if you really think it's off, or to collect information to help come to a more perfect assessment. But that's my plan. I wanted to give you folks the initial look-see, but that's what I'm looking at and what I'm planning to do for this coming summer.
Kyle,
Go ahead, Rodney.
These, like when you say the ratio will go up 20%, what does that do to the taxes? I mean, does that mean the taxes are going up 20%? It couldn't mean that, right?
Well, it's complicated because you're not just talking about the assessments going up, right?
Yeah.
We're also talking about the budget, which the budget is going up. And what are the implications on my adjustments to the valuation will affect the tax rate, what we call the mill rate.
Yeah.
And so, yes, taxes are going to go up because the budget is going up. So how much the taxes will go up will depend on what kind of adjustment you get to the assessment, but also what the budget does and what the overall taxable tax base does, right? So with these variable adjustments, our whole tax base is going to go up, but then corresponding mill rate comes down. So whether your individual tax bill will go up or not, it's hard to say at this point. I would guess if you got a 20% upward adjustment, your tax bill, you should count on your tax bill going up. Because I don't think the mill rate's going to come down 20%. But
Well,
I
yeah,
have-
and I understand it's going up, but can we plan on a 20% increase?
No,
No.
Yeah, good.
absolutely not.
Yeah.
The whole pie is cut up to divided among each dollar of valuation as best he can do is the bottom
Right.
line. So I mean, if the budget stayed the same, everybody's taxes would adjust a little bit. They'd adjust more in Northeast Harbor than they would in Soamesville, but
Right.
it would balance out to pay the same bill. So we're still dividing up the overall bill among the valued properties, and it's just changing the valuation of the properties.
Yeah.
But
So you're-
is that?
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a question, Brian, or sorry, Kyle.
Yes.
I do kind of like the overall approach of looking at this over 2 years, so you get a significant amount of data. The only outlier that I see, well, so far, is that Northeast Harbor has the lowest by a long shot ratio for dwellings, and it also represents half of the dwellings on the east side. As far as sales are concerned, there were 11 of them, and it was wait, that's not the one I was just looking at.
This is the individual
dwellings.
analysis.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at it and comparing it to the west side. 11
Yep.
dwellings, and they had a 65%. So they're going to get a jump of 20% and still only be, and I just, it feels like I appreciate that you're lumping the two sides together to try to get a better overall spread, but that seems to be that piece of data, that 11 dwellings sold in one might represent being its own. I mean, that seems like, to be fair, that could possibly need a bigger increase than the others.
Yeah. I looked long and hard at that.
Okay.
I think you're right. It does stick out. But what I resolved in was that I have to balance these adjustments with equity and fairness, but also that I do have the purview to make adjustments down the road. And if that trend continues, Northeast Harbor would get an adjustment when nobody else did. I'm doing a lot of variable adjusting this year, and that one I just didn't feel comfortable putting at the top of the heap and really adding 30% to one class of property in one village. That's kind of a leap, and I'm going to hedge on this one. I am a little gun shy, admittedly, and that's why I've had to make these adjustments so many times over the past handful of years. But I do look at it every year, and I make adjustments as we need to every year. Hopefully we'll get out of this trend where the market just continues to skyrocket the way it has been, but I haven't seen it yet. That's the thing. So that one was a 50-50.
Okay.
Kyle, what does it actually mean when you have an amount of houses in one area and it's a higher percentage? Does that mean they went for a lower price? Like
the opposite would be true.
I don't follow. So so Northeast Harbor dwellings have a ratio of 65%. That means the sale prices of dwellings have gone up more in Northeast Harbor than they have in the other villages.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So the average of the dwellings that sold in Northeast Harbor, the average assessment was 65% of the sale price.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Which means that the houses sold for 54% more than they were valued at.
I got you.
Yeah.
35% more.
No.
Well, if the average is 65%, that means the sale prices are 35% over the assessment.
It does not. It means that the ratio is 65%. So the valuation divided by the sale price is 0.65. The reciprocal of that is 1.538.
You use the assessed value divided by the sale price.
Right, which is 0.65.
Right.
The reciprocal of 0.65 is 1.538. So that means that if you had a house valued at 65,000, you're paying 100,000 for it. 100,000 is 153% of 65. That's all.
Okay, thank you for clarifying.
I'm a numbers guy. I can't help it. I'm not
Yes,
as good.
I can tell.
I'm not as good with
And
the
I appreciate
statistics,
that
but
because, like I said, this is complicated stuff, and
yes.
I'm feel like I'm kind of way out on this branch all by myself.
No, we're right behind you. It more like near the foot of the tree, actually. But
Yeah.
Well, and you can't possibly get it 100% right. So
That's right.
No matter, nobody's
Never
ever gonna call you and say thank you.
this is Kyle. This is a good, fair approach.
I agree.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
I agree.
Okay. Any other questions? All right.
Nope.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you, Kyle.
I'll
Keep
just
on.
jump in at the end of this, just as that reminder, that measuring list is going to start making its way into something we talk about more and more in the coming months as it approaches. So just have to remind everyone, yes, 2007 was in fact 20 years ago. So yeah.
So when do we think that, he said the next year or two, is that going to be, so that will be something we talk about and figure out a schedule for, like a beginning and a hopeful end date of that process?
I'm putting together an RFP because we need to put it out to bid.
Okay.
We do have a CIP account that we've been squirreling away, which I got a preliminary estimate from the company that did the reval last time, and their estimate to do another one, we have the money already in the CIP. So that's the best news. Very likely we'll be launching that next spring. So in 2027, start the data collection for updated values the following year in 2028.
Okay.
All right. Well, thank you. And we're going to move along. We're now going to review the MOU funding requests: Libraries, Maine Maritime Museum, Neighborhood House, Soamsville Meeting House, Village Improvement Societies.
John, you skipped item I.
Oh, I'm sorry. Review of public space policy and proposed fee structure changes.
I think the two are sort of out of order on the agenda. That's probably what caused that just then. They're backwards from each other. So I'll jump in. At last meeting, you all mentioned wanting to amend the public spaces policy to better account for organizations that do multiple events over the course of the summer. And the example we had was the farmers market, which I believe meets probably a dozen times over the course of the summer, which then pays the same amount as somebody just doing one permit, say for something at Sowensby Park. So there's no pride and ownership in this. This is just something I quickly put together. In researching this, what it proved was, what quickly jumped out is that really the rates that are set for the public spaces policy is up to the select board to do. So that it's pretty easy. If we change the form, the select board can vote on that. And so that was where I put this, was right at the top of the form. This was something I think Katrina chimed in on this a little bit as well. And so the idea here would be to do the upfront application fee, and then an additional date fee of another $25, up to $250 maximum. And that's just something I'm throwing out there as a method to do this, and would love to hear people's opinion on it and discussion. But that was sort of the first stab at it, and curious what people think.
I just want to say thank you very much for taking a stab at this. And I also looked to see what the food trucks paid to be at the marina, and their fee is $250 for the season. So this seems more equitable to me for the amount of time and energy. I don't think the food trucks are nearly as chaotic as the farmer's market is. So this seems to be a really good way to go.
I think I agree with Katrina.
Yeah.
I as well.
Yep.
Yeah, I like the cap, but I also, because most people do the single use, but I think the people that don't, I think it's really important to be compensated for that. So I agree.
Now you wouldn't charge the $250 for somebody that was in there for a day or two, right? If I get that right? Yeah. Okay.
So it's $25 per use, essentially, with a cap at $250. So if somebody was doing something that met twice, say, they'd be $50.
Yeah.
Hey, actually, 1 second. I just want to do a quick aside while we're talking about this. Hey, Northeast, are you still out there?
No, he signed up. Oh,
Yeah, no, he's here.
I'm
Hey.
listening.
If in the middle of the night you get a bill for $4,000 or such from us, that's a scam. Don't pay it.
Okay.
3 weeks ago, after we had some people on the agenda, those people ended up getting these mystery bills. So I'm so glad I just,
Appreciate the head.
yeah, I'll be really kind of amused if you do get it. But it'll look slightly official. So, sorry, quick aside there. So if people are okay with it, we can have you folks move to approve this as is, and then we'll
Good
put it
night,
into place moving forward.
Mr. Chairman, Phil has his hand up.
Okay, Phil, go ahead.
I just want to speak positive to the farmers market, and I think the 250 cap is fair. I think they pay something similar in Bar Harbor to be there for the 20 weeks they're in Bar Harbor. So I think this is very fair.
Good.
I had one quick question. Again, I'm always looking for people who are going to make an argument. What if we had, I know we have a maximum of about $250 if it was 10 or more separate events. What if somebody had a 2-day event? Does that count as 2 events, or how do we clarify that?
That's a 2-day event.
I would think so too, but is it so is that a single 2-day event? $25?
No, it's 50.
So it's 2 events.
It's by the day.
That's right. It doesn't say that. That's all. It says that's all. That's fine. I would clarify that, because if somebody came in and wanted to do it 3 days in a row, they paying $75. I would say yes, but it's not clear that if it's a single event,
We can
whether or not
certainly add a
that.
clarification onto
Yeah,
that.
that is needs to be clear.
I mean,
Cool.
you're talking about pennies, but just
Yeah, but
we don't get into it.
No, this is nice. This is nice and clean.
Yeah, I agree.
Will this go into effect for 2027 or effective mid-year this year? When does this change?
Pretty much as soon as the select board approves it, because it's up to them. They have the ability to set the rates. So there wouldn't necessarily, unless you folks decided to pick a specific date at which the new one went into effect and specifically requested it, or asked me to hold this and then you vote on it at that point in time. But essentially, absent other language, it would go into effect as soon as the select board voted on it, just because that the statute gives you folks the right to set the rates as you see fit.
But all the people that have already applied for this year would be paying the old rate, and anyone that applied after this vote would pay the new rate, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would suggest we hold off until September at least before enacting it, just because of the fact that the farmers market in particular has already been approved for $25 for the summer. But I don't know.
Well,
Jeff is right, though. It should be clarified, as far as days and.
I feel like once the new application is finalized and we approve it, then moving forward, anybody that fills out that application
Right.
will have the new information.
Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
So how about I add that clarifying language and then we add it to the next meeting?
Yeah,
Sure.
I would agree.
Thank you.
Okay. Cool.
Okay, now review of the MOU funding requests. Libraries, Maine Maritime Museum, Neighborhood House, Soamesville Meeting House, Village Improvement Societies.
Yeah, so this is me pretty much putting this out there so that it's just, this is really the last up of the budgeted categories for me to review with the select board before they get passed on to the warrant committee. Tomorrow night will be the third party request, which I've also included on here just for the sake of the information. The MOUs in the village improvement societies are not being asked to attend any meeting unless somebody from the select board or warrant committee specifically has one that they'd like to have attend. And I do think there's one we'll want to have attend. That'll be the Soamesville Meeting House, given that that's brand new. So we could ask them to attend. Otherwise, for the most part with the MOUs, everyone was flat with the exception of the Northeast Harbor Library, which asked for 5% more. When I asked her about that earlier today, she stated that it was really only about 5% of their overall budget and their costs are increasing. So there was no one thing that was causing that increase there, just in general, a lot of expenses on there. Northeast Harbor Village Improvement Society didn't put in, Seal Harbor added on. I think that that's the two of them combining up there a little bit, although I'm not sure. And then we move on to the public service. So that's in essence those ones. We did have a number of people that had put in applications last year, not put in this year on the third party requests. So it'll be a slightly shorter list when we meet tomorrow night than otherwise. But mostly I'm just getting this out there in front of you folks for you to look at it and see if there's any questions you'd like me to circle back on or specific entities that you'd like to have attend for warrant committee or at a later date. With regard to MOUs and the village improvement societies, we're still working out the exact nature of how to bring them in versus not this year. So a little bit of a work in progress on that front. And any questions?
Nope.
What is the Soamesville Meeting House? I mean, is that the church or is that the selectmen's building?
It is the selectmen's building, and they're setting up a warming station. So because the Soamesville fire station can no longer be used as a warming station, they're adding a town warming station. So that's for the generator and for that backup. It's an interesting one. It's not really one where I would have necessarily thought, okay, that fits the definition of an MOU. But if we go back to sort of the basic framework, which is they're doing something that the town would have to do otherwise, well, warming stations actually all pretty exactly into that category. And so so that's why it actually does fit the definition of what we would think of as an MOU pretty specifically, sort of surprisingly so. So that's the backstory behind that.
Right.
Looks like Phil has a question.
Phil, go ahead.
I don't have a question. I want to speak positive. The warming station came from part of our grant through the state, and that was something that we were working on to, find a place. Again, what Alex pointed out, that the firehouse was no longer an acceptable location. And as we all know, a night like tonight is what the warming station would be about.
Okay, yeah.
Willie also has his hand up.
Who? I can't.
Willie Grant's.
John, it's Willie. I'm just commenting because I noticed in the agenda on one version we were Maine Maritime Museum. In the other version, the one that came out today, we were Great Harbor. Just to clarify, Maine Maritime Museum is in Bath, and I don't think they want to run bathrooms on Main Street. Though if they would like to, by all means, I'm happy. But I think it's Great Harbor that's going to be asking for the $5,800.
Hey, where did you see Maine Maritime on there? Where
On
was
the
it?
agenda.
On the first version, it was Maine Maritime,
Oh, I
and I
see.
called Claire to say I don't think Bath wants to take over, and the
Yeah,
second
okay.
version was fixed. But I just want to clarify that.
Okay.
Thanks, Alex.
No sending a check to Bath. Okay. Yep. Okay.
Okay. So, do you need anything from us, Alex?
I do not believe so. This is really informational for you
Yep.
folks to get eyes on it as we pass it on to the warrant committee.
Okay, good. All right. So we done with that?
Yep.
Draft warrant articles for review and vote. So all we're going to be doing, I'm going to be reading the articles in green.
Correct.
Okay. And I may not read the entire article. Some of these we've seen a few times. All right. We ready to go? Article 4, shall an ordinance dated May 5th, 2026 and entitled Town of Mount Desert Alewife Ordinance be enacted? Okay, vote.
Well,
Move
in the
approval.
positive.
In the positive.
Move approval of Article 4.
Good. Second. All in
Second.
favor? Okay. Let me see. I
There.
cannot. I need to get Phil off my screen. Why are you on my screen, Phil?
You can go to a gallery on your view. I don't know what you're on, but
John, would you like me to share the articles as you go?
That'd be great.
Give me a second here. Can you see that?
Perfect.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, I just read Article 4. See Alewife Ordinance.
Right.
Okay, all in favor. Was it unanimous?
Yeah. I
Okay.
think you're recommending passage.
yeah.
Okay, Article 5, shall an ordinance dated May 5, 2026 entitled Amendments to the Town of Mount Desert Harbor Ordinance be enacted as set forth below? Explanation. These amendments to the Harbor Ordinance are to clarify the application process and lottery for passenger vessel operators. These sections referenced below will be amended to read as follows. Okay.
Move
This is Jeff.
recommendation for Article 5 to pass.
Second, Jeff Wood.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Article, let's see.
13.
Article 13, to see if the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will vote to authorize the select board to accept conditional gifts, unconditional gifts, equipment proceeds from sale of fire equipment or funds on behalf of the municipal fire department.
Jeff Wood, I recommend that the select board recommends passage.
Wendy, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Good. Article 14, to see if the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will vote to authorize the select board to accept and expend on the behalf of the town additional state, federal, and other funds, including conditional and unconditional gifts of money received during the fiscal year.
This is Jeff Wood. I move that the select board recommends passage.
Wendy, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Article 15, to see if the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will vote to grant an extension to April 30, 2027 of the deadline of April 30, 2026 which was imposed in warrant Article 23 adopted at the May 6, 2025 annual town meeting, requiring the Echo Woods Road on or before said deadline to deliver their deed to the town, duly executed and in proper form for recording, conveying, and fee simple, without condition, exception, or reservation, the full title to the land underlying the roads, being a strip of land 50 foot in width or greater, as laid out in the subdivision.
This is Wendy. Select Board recommends passage.
Jeff, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Article 17, to see if the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will vote to authorize the select board to grant and receive easements on behalf of the town for the installation, maintenance, or removal of utility services as defined in Maine Revised Statutes Title 33, but not including any such utility services being connected to public utilities within a townway, and further to authorize the select board or its designee to execute any and all documents and do any and all things necessary or convenient to accomplish the granting of such easements.
It's Jeff Wood. I move that the select board recommends passage.
Wendy seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 18, to see if the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will vote to authorize the select board to grant utility crossing rights on behalf of the town for the installation, maintenance, or removal of utility services.
It's Jeff Wood. I move that the select board recommends passage.
John, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Wendy, aye.
Okay, did you get that? All right. Article 19, to see if the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will vote to authorize the select board to lease a portion of the so-called visitor center at the Northeast Harbor Marina to the ticket booth operators for a term of 1 year.
Jeff
This
Wood.
is Wendy. Oh,
Go ahead.
this is Wendy. Select Board recommends passage.
Jeff Wood, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 20, to see if the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will vote to authorize the select board to lease a portion of the so-called visitor center at Northeast Harbor Marina to the Mount Desert Chamber of Commerce for a term of 1 year.
This is Wendy. Select Board recommends passage.
Jeff Wood, second.
All in favor? Aye.
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 Article 21, to see if the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will authorize the select board to negotiate and enter into an agreement with the neighborhood house for management and maintenance of the municipal swimming pool for a term of 1 year.
This is Wendy. The Select Board recommends passage.
Jeff Wood, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, let's see here. Article 24. To see if the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will vote to approve July 1 each year as the date on which all taxes shall be due and payable, providing that all updated taxes and unpaid taxes on September 1 of each year shall be charged interest at an annual rate of 7%.
This is Wendy. Select Board recommends passage.
Jeff Wood, second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Article 25, to see if the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will vote to authorize the tax collector to enter into a standard tax club agreement with taxpayers whereby 1, the taxpayer agrees to pay specified monthly payments, and 2, the town agrees to waive interest on timely payments. 3, the town authorizes the tax collector to accept payment of taxes prior to commitment of taxes, and 4, the agreement automatically terminates if 2 consecutive payments are missed.
Wendy, the Select Board recommends passage.
Jeff Wood, second.
Good, all in favor?
Aye.
Article 26, to see if the town will vote to authorize the tax collector to accept prepayment of property taxes not yet committed, not to exceed the estimated amount to be committed to in the subsequent year.
Wendy, the Select Board recommends passage.
Jeff Wood, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 27. See if the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will vote to set the interest rate to be paid by the town for abated taxes that have been paid at the rate of 7%.
Wendy, the Select Board recommends passage.
Jeff Wood, second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 28, to see if the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will vote to authorize expenditures to pay any tax abatements granted by the assessor, Board of Assessment Review, or Select Board.
This is Wendy. Select Board recommends passage.
Jeff Wood seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Article 29, to see if the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will vote to authorize a select board to dispose by public bid of town-owned property with a value of $10,000 or less under such terms and conditions as it deems advisable.
Wendy, the Select Board recommends passage.
Jeff Wood seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Article 30, to see if the inhabit, oh, no, sorry. Bad glasses.
Yeah,
Oh,
that's
it is, okay. Oh, yeah. To see if the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will vote to authorize a select board to sell at public auction or by advertised sealed bid and to convey titles under tax deeds and under deeds of conveyance to the inhabitants of the town.
This is Wendy. Select Board recommends passage.
Jeff Wood second.
Yeah, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 31, to see if the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will vote to authorize the select board to contract for services in amounts not to exceed the appropriation for same.
Wendy, Select Board recommends passage.
Jeff Wood seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 32, to see if the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will vote to budget $600,000 from the undesignated fund balance account 100-38300 to reduce the 26-27 tax commitment.
Select Board recommends passage. Wendy?
Jeff Wood second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Article 33, to see what sum the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will vote to raise and or appropriate as revenue through excise taxes, service fees, and miscellaneous sources.
Select Board recommends $2,062,325.
Jeff Wood seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Article 36, to see what sum the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will vote to raise and appropriate for Department 300 General Assistance.
The Select Board, this is Wendy, the Select Board recommends $5,000.
Jeff Wood second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Article 37, to see what sum the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will vote to raise and appropriate for Department 350 Rural Wastewater Support.
37.
This is Jeff Wood, motion that the Select Board recommends $237,287.
Second. John, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 38, to see what sum the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will vote to raise and appropriate for Department 406 streetlights.
This is Wendy. The Select Board recommends $23,750.
Jeff Wood second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 39, to see what sum the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will vote to raise and appropriate for Department 401, 405, 407, and 408, Public Safety, Police, and Communications Dispatch for the 26-27 town budget.
This is Wendy. The Select Board recommends $1,679,896.
Jeff Wood seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 40, to see what sum the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will vote to raise and appropriate for Department 403, 404, and 409 Public Safety, Fire Department, hydrants, and emergency management for the 2026-2027 town budget.
This is Wendy. The Select Board recommends $3,263,746.
Jeff Wood second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Article 41, to see what sum the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will vote to raise and appropriate for Department 501, 515, 520, and 525 Public Works, Roads, Waste Management, Buildings and Grounds, Parks and Cemeteries.
This is Wendy. The Select Board recommends $3,629,209.
Jeff Wood seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Article 42, to see what sum the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will vote to raise and appropriate for Department 505, 506 for the 26-27 town budget.
This is Wendy. The Select Board recommends $1,422,562.
Jeff Wood seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Article 43, to see what sum the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will vote to raise and appropriate for Department 605, Recreation, for the 26-27 town budget.
This is Wendy. The Select Board recommends $10,000.
Jeff Wood second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Article 44, to see what sum the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will vote to raise and appropriate for Department 701, Economic Community Development, for the 26-27 town budget.
This is Wendy. The Select Board recommends $10,000.
Jeff Wood second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 45, to see what sum the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will vote to raise and appropriate for Department 801, Debt Service, for the 26-27 town budget.
This is Wendy. The Select Board recommends $2,267,308.
Jeff Wood second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Article 47, to see what sum the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will vote to raise and appropriate for Department 991 Capital Improvement Plan transfers for the 26-27 town budget.
This is Wendy. The Select Board recommends $1,332,838.
Jeff Wood seconds.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Article 48, to see if the inhabitants of the town of Mount Desert will vote to ratify the Select Board's approval of the Marina Proprietary Fund budget.
This is Wendy. The Select Board recommends ratification.
Jeff Wood seconds.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Article 49, shall the town of Mount Desert be authorized to appropriate an amount not to exceed $412,610 from the Harbor's Marina Enterprise Fund balance, account number 600-38300, to finance survey and engineering services for the reconstruction of the Northeast Harbor Municipal Wharf.
This is Wendy. The Select Board recommends passage.
Jeff Wood second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that is the end of that for now.
That's most of them.
Good. All right. Now we have public comment time. Any public comments? Does anybody have any other business? Nope. And I will read the treasurer's warrants. Approval and signature, town invoice AP 2651 and DD 2616 in the amount of $573,547.67.
This Wendy approves.
Jeff Wood second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Approval and signature, state fees and payroll benefits, AP 2648, DD 2616, AP 2649, AP 2650, and town payroll, PR 2619, in the amount of $302,740.80.
Jeff Wood moves approval.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
One abstention, Wendy.
Okay. Acknowledgements. School invoices, MDES AP 10, school payroll, MDES PR 17, no voided disbursements for a total of $189,306.68.
Move acknowledgement, Wendy.
Jeff Wood second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good. I will take a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
All
Thank
right,
you all
see
so
you all
much for
tomorrow night.
sticking with- Yeah, see you tomorrow night.
Where
And
are
hey,
we
Kyle,
tomorrow
thanks
night?
for
Just on the regular-
orchestrating this so well.
Yeah, tomorrow night, where are we? Right here? Right at the house?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay.
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you
guys.
all.
Thanks,
Night,
guys.